the first American Pope they've ever had, and he descends from Haitian and Creole. Not to mention that the man is not a fan of Donald Trump at all and is very vocal about it. Oh, you know, I'm all for this, 110%.
But Haitian and Creole. Wait, so this James' son. This James' son. Hey, shout out to all of the subscribers and members here on the channel. Don't forget to like the video. I am Reese Waters, and this is Who Raised Y'all, where we highlight those unique individuals going above and beyond to make society worse.
Well, the Constitution is clear, and that, of course, is the supreme law of the land, that the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be suspended in a time of invasion. So I would say that's an option we're actively looking at.
You know, the kinds of people you'll see asking to speak to the manager at the pearly gates.
I want to talk to the manager.
And one thing that we have learned this week is that the American line at the pearly gates is going to be a long one.
It's so bad in America right now, the Catholic Church just said, give them a pope. They need all of the divine intervention to survive 47. So they just said, give them a pope. 1,000 years. Never in the history it's ever happened. They said, yeah, 2025, America needs Jesus. I mean, I'm not religious, but you know, whatever it takes. Sure, fine. This is where we're at.
Having a progressive pope makes sense, but also speaks to how Trump's actions, having the Catholic Church being like, yeah, we're not going to bring in anyone right wing because we see what's happening not only here in America, but his connection to the autocrats around the world.
Make no mistake that the pope being chosen from America, that's mission outreach. Yeah, that's missionary work. That is a recognition that America has turned so vile that we need to be ministered to on an international level.
Now, let me first congratulate the new Pope. I'm not Catholic. I am a Christian, but I've gone to a number of Catholic masses. I know enough to call them masses. And if you haven't been, it's you know, it's your average Christian church. It's a lot of kneeling, and it's a lot of Latin. That's one thing I've learned. And the music is the soundtrack is a little. It kind of sounds like gospel choir rehearsal.
Here at the Greater Ebenezer New Revival Tree of Life Institutional Double Rock on the side of the road to Jericho Missionary Baptist Church of Zion.
You know, it sounds like singing in the car on the way to gospel practice, you know, rehearsal, choir rehearsal, you know, when they are singing in English. Now, I'm not going to act like I am an expert when it comes to popes. My understanding of popes begins with the Pope Mobile and it ends with the movie Conclave. But just like in the movie Conclave, the brother did not get the job. But that's not from a lack of trying.
There's never been an American-born pope. Is this the moment?
I do think one of the dark horses, and I think, unfortunately, he's one of the most progressive, is Cardinal Prevost. I don't think he's getting enough play. He is certainly on the short list as being, and I think it's pretty shocking given how the contempt they hold the American church. The American church gives so much money, they're afraid it has too much power. So they've never really wanted to have an American pope. But my understanding is Prevost is one of the ones closest to Francis ideologically. He's also had tremendous experience in Latin America. And so he's one of the ones on the short list. I'm a big believer that Cardinal Sarah from Africa would be a perfect selection right now for this moment in the church.
Yes, he really said that. Steve Bannon. Now let's take a look at Cardinal Sarah. Let's take a look at him. I just want you to process just how concerned Maga would have to be about a pope that actually adheres to the principles of the faith for them to advocate for the brother to get the job. Let's first get that one clear. Now, here's another thing I want to highlight. This came from Rob Schmidt over at Newsmax. He's apparently one of their anchors, who says that the Pope better not be woke. Now, I just want to acknowledge right at the outset the mindset of Maga. It couldn't be that this is a gentleman who's supposed to lead you as a man who is tasked with guiding the faith, and therefore you are supposed to take your direction from him. It couldn't be that. No, we have made up our minds politically, and we will cast judgment on the Pope if he doesn't align with where we fall politically. That is where we were at. And that is exactly why you have the rhetoric that I threw up at the outset about just how vile things have become. Just imagine the arrogance and the audacity. This Pope better not be woke. I can tell you that right now. I am curious in the hierarchy where he feels like the Pope sits vis-a-vis President Trump. You know what I mean? I'm just so concerned. You know, I wonder, you know, I look back on the history books and I see all the times the Pope has consulted, you know, Truman and Woodrow Wilson. All the times the American president has directed the Pope in the ways of the faith. You know, it goes president and then Pope. Wait, did I put the Pope right underneath the president? No, that was a mistake, because you got to put all Trump's kids. You got to put all Trump's kids underneath that. And then all the people over at Newsmax, you know, all the people over at Newsmax got to go up under there. A couple of people from Fox News got to go up under there. Of course, Laura Loomer, you know, she got to trump the Pope for sure. Well, speaking of Laura Loomer, I hate to be the bearer of heathen news. MAGA meltdown over woke Marxist Pope, who is a never-Trumper liberal. Now, just the sheer arrogance of casting judgment on the Pope because he criticized your favorite hat and t-shirt manufacturer, which is pretty much what we have in the White House. He criticized your favorite brand, your favorite non-PGA Tour golfer. Because of that, you cast aspersions on the Pope, which is a level of arrogance that in itself would violate the core tenets of the faith. But we're gonna go way further than that. It didn't take long for right-wing media figures and MAGA provocateurs to cry out in rage over the election of Robert Prevost as Pope Leo XIV, after it was revealed that he publicly criticized Vice President JD Vance and expressed sympathy for immigrants and George Floyd. Now, the interesting thing about that sentence, it's the sympathy. It's the sympathy that is doing all of the lifting, because you could swap out immigrants and George Floyd with a great number of people. It wouldn't matter. It would violate MAGA by having any level of sympathy for anybody ever. That is the thing. And by the way, and this is, I want you MAGAs to just consider this, right? Because I just made this video a couple of days ago talking about Stephen A. Smith and his pursuit of the Democratic nomination with as many issues with the Democratic Party. And I said, why don't we usher in like a little negotiation, you know, some cash considerations. Unfortunately, no offers have come in from the MAGAs for Stephen A. Smith, so he's currently sitting on waivers. But here's the thing, MAGA. You have openly ceded your deference with the man who is put in charge of the faith. And the thing is, those church doors swing two ways. You like to use your faith as some sort of badge of pride, despite the litany of ways in which you violate it pretty much any time that you're referencing it. Pretty much any time that you're referencing yourself as a Christian, you're doing it in the context of non-Christian behavior. That's basically when that happens. Here's the thing. You are absolutely free. All of that criticism, all that stuff, that is, I am good with all of that. You got to come up off the crosses. You got to come up off the crosses. But you know what I mean? That's, I don't make the rules. I'm just reading y'all's tweets. Despite feeling national pride over the fact that the Chicago-born Prevost has become the first American pope in history, conservative pundits and Trump loyalists fume over the woke Marxist pope and complains that he is worse than Francis, referencing the previous pontiff known for his progressive values. And now we come to the part of the agenda where we question all of the American first rhetoric. What happened to America first? What happened to America first? We got our first American pope and y'all complaining about a couple of tweets. Really? Is that so we gonna level the whole economy in the name of bringing back manufacturing here to America, and then after we've gone through all of that economic pain that Trump was considering, now you don't want to give the jobs to certain people because of what they posted on Twitter? That's what you would do. That's exactly what you would do. And now if you want to treat the Pope like this, come on. You expect me to believe that's not going to go that way? That America first was, I don't really understand why you would go through the process of filling out all the letters of America when you could have just put me. You could have just put me first. You could have just, you know what? You probably would have saved money on all those buttons and hats and pins if you would have. I make merch. I got merch over on my website. I know if you have a smaller message, you could save some money. Put that in your hat. I know y'all don't have no business acumen. If you would, you wouldn't be following Trump, but just take that one to note. Following the announcement of Prevost as the new Holy Father, many of his tweets criticizing Vance and the Trump administration's immigration policies, as well as expressing grief for the killing of George Floyd, began making the rounds on social media. Quote, JD Vance is wrong. Jesus doesn't ask us to rank our love for others. Now, that sounds pretty innocuous, right? Jesus doesn't ask us to rank our love for others, but as unproblematic as I would find that to be with an operable brain, I can only imagine just how many knots Maga is twisting themselves in over that. Quote, sorry, Catholics, this new pope is an open borders globalist. He'll be pushing for abortion soon. This isn't a guess. You could scroll his X account and see what he's been up to. That came from alt-right conspiracy theorist Mike Chernovich on X. While including screenshots of the pontiff retweeting posts about gun control and deportations to El Salvador. Look at him! He doesn't want us running around continuing to run up Michael Jordan in his prime numbers when it comes to gun deaths like we've never seen at any point in world history. Look at this! He got a problem with all that! Pro-Trump social media personality Joey Manorino groused that the new pope has recently attacked JD Vance, shown solidarity with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and begged Trump to open the borders like Biden had them. This guy is worse than Francis. In a separate tweet, he went further, calling him a liberal piece of S and insisting that we're effed. Yeah, Catholics. I'm gonna need my Catholics to holler here. And by the way, this is one of the reasons why, as disgusting as it is to see how many Republican elected officials fall in line when it comes to the Trump agenda, one thing I do have some gratitude for is when the story is told, they will go down with the ship, right down the toilet bowl of history. So Catholics, this is what I want to holler at y'all about. They just called the Pope a piece of S. See, I know y'all have been fence sitting for a whole long time, trying to somehow grapple with the fact that you really feel like me first, but you want to keep a foot in this faith that he and all of his minions violate on a regular basis. Like, you openly overlooked 3 baby mama Donnie and and everything that he's been in, you openly overlooked all of that, right? While trying to keep a foot in the faith and advocating for me first. Here's the problem. All of a sudden, this hard wind is blowing while you're on the fence when you have your right-wing influencers calling the leader of your faith a piece of S. Yeah, got to get up off that fence. You got to get up off that fence. Yeah, and quite frankly, I don't care which way you go. I really don't care which way you go. But that fence got to come down. That's one thing I know. Now here we have Joey Manorino's spouse, who credits Trump for the couple getting married. They've since separated, complained that the new pope suffers from the woke mind virus. And yes, I would take my prescription from what the pope suffers from the woman who was married to Joey Manorino, and credits Trump with them getting married when that didn't work out. That's who I want to hear from. Laura Loomer, the proud Islamophobe and far-right extremist who appears to have the president's ear, spent much of Thursday afternoon raging on social media about the newly elected pontiff's views on immigration and social justice. Quote, the new pope once retweeted a post about how we need to keep praying for career criminal and drug addict George Floyd. The tweet said, may all hatred, violence, and prejudice be eradicated. What prejudice? Is that another way to spell fentanyl overdose, Marxist Pope? In additional tweets, Loomer lamented about the woke Marxist Pope and claimed that he is anti-Trump, anti-Maga, pro-open borders, and a total Marxist like Francis, adding that it's gross that he's now in charge of the Vatican. Now, Laura Loomer, I am shocked that you have any level of surprise or concern about what the Pope's views would possibly be. Have you not made a point to look as devilish as humanly possible? Right? Isn't that what you take in to the doctor before your next operation is pictures of Beelzebub and its many depictions? So why wouldn't the Pope's views be completely opposite of yours? I thought that's what you wanted. Pizzagate conspiracist Jack Posobiec, meanwhile, was visibly irate over the tweets about Vance and immigrants before attempting to exert on-air pressure on the Pope to openly support Trump. That's hysterical. We need to see from the absolute jump, whether or not Pope Leo is interested in working with President Trump or, as we can see from his Twitter feed, working against him. As a representative of Catholics all around the world, perhaps he'll understand that it was Catholics who delivered the White House for President Trump, and perhaps, just perhaps, the new Pope will listen. Well, that is a new one. It was Catholics who delivered the White House for President Trump. He don't know how to spell racist. He don't know how to spell racist. And people that are irredeemably selfish. The not me people. Yeah, everybody but me. Everybody but me. By the way, shout out to this New Yorker cartoon that outlines all of this quite well. But I actually have some bad news for those of you that are crashing out over in Maga. JD Vance and Donald Trump did not take that bait. Not even a little bit. Congratulations to Leo XIV, the first American Pope, on his election. I'm sure millions of American Catholics and other Christians will pray for his successful work leading the church. May God bless him. And I see you right underneath that, Harry Sisson. He hates you, LOL. Like I almost can't even frame that tweet without including the Harry Sisson, he hates you. But he wasn't the only one who had some thoughts. Jojo from Jers, fantastic follow, by the way. Whatever you do, do not visit him. And this one from Leo VATF, stay away. I mean, JD is for the best. Yeah, it is. It's for the best. You know, because the thing is, the Pope is up there in age. He's up there in age, and you know, when you use all those makeup brushes, like he's been on a lot of different faces and a lot of different makeups. They're just real bacteria magnets, and we wouldn't want that to come off on the Pope. That's where I'm going with it.
You regret the image of yourself posted on social media dressed as the Pope?
What's next? To have the Pope from the United States of America, that's a great honor. That's a great honor. When are you going to welcome the Pope? I'm watching, and they said he's from America. I said, that's great.
Now, far be it for me to give Trump credit, but I will give him credit here because he at least had the wherewithal and the understanding to know that challenging the Pope when he was just named on a day like this illuminates the level of fence sitting that so many of the fake Christian MAGAs have been doing. See, what Trump wants to do is to allow the illusion of the Christian faith, despite the litany of ways in which they violate it on a regular basis, to persist as long as possible. And he also understands that having an American Pope, especially one who leans either center or left, anything that's not far right is going to be left of what we got going on right now is going to be a problem. But he wants to kick that can down the road as long as possible. There's no reason to illuminate that fact at this particular time. Now, here was one of my favorite. There are so many different crash outs, so many different crash out MAGAs. I just outlined a couple of them, but this one I particularly love. Take it or leave it, President Trump is a prophet with a divine mandate. For the first time after he posted an AI-generated image of himself as an American president, as a pope, the Catholic Church gets the first American-born pope. Still think it's a coincidence? Think hard. Now let's go with that. Let's go with that. If he, he summoned an American pope by virtue of that AI-generated image, not him just once again stroking his own ego by saying he could step into any possible role that exists in the world. And yes, Lindsey Graham, we are not going to forget you platforming that nonsense. Yeah, that'll go nicely with your career epitaph. No, let's go with that. If he summoned the American Pope, wouldn't that make the American Pope and the views of said American Pope the natural extension of Trump himself? Yeah, take that one with you. Take that one with you. But by the way, it got even funnier. Is MAGA claiming that the new papal conclave was rigged because they don't like their new woke pope? We want same-day, in-person paper ballots for Pope voting. Also, black cardinals cannot vote for the Pope. MAGA probably. At this point, MAGA thinks even heaven has a deep state. You know what's bad when MAGA takes a break from bashing black people to now attacking an American Pope? No, Alex, they didn't take a break from bashing black people because they slid George Floyd into their slander. So they found a way to do both.
So here's my 2 cents about the new Pope that we have. He's American. Everybody's saying that he's liberal. I don't know that for sure. However, he's from Chicago. And who else spent all their time in Chicago? Obama. So in my eyes, it's a great possibility that this new Pope is just another puppet of Obama.
Why black MAGA always got to be the worst? You know what I mean? Why they always just got to crash out the hardest? You know what I mean? Like, you ever see a pick me in public and you just be embarrassed for him? Like, bro, you ain't got to do all that. You know what I mean? I'm like, bro, like, why? They wasn't even saying that. You know what I mean? You always got to go extra. You know what I mean? That just make it so hilarious when they throw breadcrumbs out the back of the truck and you got to scoop them up off the ground.
So you may have heard that we have a new pope, and he comes from Chicago. But the best part, he also happens to be anti-MAGA. So, of course, MAGA is now talking about getting rid of dual citizenships because, you know, they have to do something to get rid of the woke agenda Pope, right? They seem to forget that Melania Trump has dual citizenship. Elon Musk has 3. I believe Barron Trump might as well. So that's a lot of people in his circle that Rupert Murdoch, I believe. Don't they all have dual? No? Yeah? Okay. So really interesting that MAGA's pushing for this, not realizing that half the people they support would be affected by that. So here we are again, America 2025. Can you imagine being angry about a pope that wants to be inclusive? Like I said, these people would nail Jesus Christ to the cross themselves, hand Donald Trump the spear, and then say, go ahead, stab him, and applaud it. Literally. This proves it.
So you mean to tell me eliminating the dual citizenship to try and own the Pope would then mean he would have to do his work from the Vatican, where he actually should be, but you eliminate the citizenship of Elon Musk and Melania and Rupert Murdoch? Where do I sign up for that? Yeah, I'm with that. Let this be my first pro-MAGA turn.
And as Pope Francis has reminded us many times, a bishop is called to serve. His authority is service. And so to look for different ways in which a bishop can serve in any given society, in any given church, I think is very important. The bishop is not supposed to be a little prince sitting in his kingdom, but rather called authentically to be humble, to be close to the people he serves, to walk with them, to suffer with them, and to look for ways that he can better live the gospel message in the midst of his people.
Now, that is when the new Pope was just Cardinal Prevost, just in case you're wondering why they're so triggered. A little prince sitting in his kingdom. He's supposed to walk with the people and suffer with the people. You know, kind of like the guy who said maybe you'll just have a couple of less Christmas gifts this year while he collects the money that was donated anonymously to his crypto coin, because that's not for favors. That kind of humility. Now you see exactly why they're so triggered and exactly how high up on that fence so many of his MAGAs have been sitting, trying to balance Christian principles and MAGA.
They picked an American-born Peruvian bishop who is an Augustinian. The people who are notoriously pro-immigrant, pro-environment, and anti-materialism to the point of being anti-capitalist. And the name he chose comes from the previous pope of that name, who was the creator of workers' rights as we know them. I think the Catholic Church sent their message loud and clear.
And guess what? It gets better.
Most chaplains, I served in the United States Air Force Reserve Chaplain Corps as a progressive chaplain. Most of the chaplains that are in there that are serving are from evangelical or Southern Baptist backgrounds. And their goal is to tend and convert American soldiers into Southern Baptist or evangelicals because and wrap that in with the Bible and the flag. We've talked about this intertwining of how America is God's country and they're here to turn the world into some sort of godly state. And they're going to start with American politics. And then as that escalates and as they take over more and more of America, they plan to use the military to continue global dominance of Christianity, this conservative Christianity. So this nationalist movement is nationalist until it goes global. That's a real thing. So for the Vatican to elect an American socially progressive Pope, Pope Leo, is a statement against Trump and Christian nationalism. He has tweeted against Trump multiple times. He has socially progressive values, much like Pope Francis. So not just once, but twice, the Vatican has told the world that they want a socially progressive Catholicism that has conservative Catholic doctrine. They're making that very clear that Pope Francis was not a fluke, that this is the world that they're moving towards, that they liked Pope Francis and they're going that direction. And again, a lot of conservative, evangelical, even conservative Catholics, and then, of course, the Southern Baptists are not going to be happy with this new Pope. They're just not, which I think is a fantastic move by the Vatican to say, hey, you are not going to call the shots on what it means to be Christian. This Christian nationalist movement is not Christ-like. Like, this is not what we stand for. And we're going to tell you this not just with Pope Francis, but with Pope Leo.
And guess what? It gets better.
Not the Pope is one of us, y'all. So Robert Prevost, the new Pope, which will be named Pope Leo, is from Chicago. The first American Pope they've ever had, and he descends from Haitian and Creole. Not to mention that the man is not a fan of Donald Trump at all and is very vocal about it. Oh, you know I'm all for this, 110%.
But Haitian and Creole. Wait, so this James' son. This James' son. James and Dolores? Okay. Yeah, I ain't seen him since he was yay high. No, yeah, I didn't. Boy, you look just like your pappy. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Walking all bow-legged. Yeah.
Hey friends, so it turns out there is some breaking news in regard to Pope Leo XIV. Now, if you're like me or like anybody else who was paying a lot of attention this afternoon during his revealing ceremony, you wondered like, ooh, he got a little bit of a tan, right? And in my mind, I was like, yeah, I guess it's giving like spicy white. It's Jeff Goldblum, but make it like papal realness. So I was like, okay. But then there was this breaking news that I've been seeing disseminating all around social media, right? And the first time I saw it was from someone named Andre Kearns, who is a genealogist who was sharing news from a fellow genealogist. So in this post, Andre Kearns says, breaking news for anyone who clocked the Pope's tan. Fellow genealogist Jerry Christopher Honora just shared that Pope Robert Francis Prevost descends from Louisiana Creoles of color through his grandmother, Louise Baki, born in New Orleans in 1868, and Haitian ancestry through his grandfather, Joseph Martinez, born in Port-au-Prince in 1864.
Well, all right then. I'll be there. I'll be there Sunday. I'll be there Sunday, Father. You know, I gotta order some chant CDs. No, I'm gonna order some those chant CDs that was out when I was in school. I'm gonna get on my chant CDs. Maybe just infuse that music into my videos, something like that. Just give it a little Catholic. And then I gotta go online. I gotta order some knee pads. I gotta order some, just for the kneeling that be going on. And then maybe that Rosetta Stone. They still got Latin on the Rosetta Stone. Okay, I'll be there. But when I need to get my Latin and my CDs and my knee pads, and then I'll be down to the parish. Yeah, I'll be down there. You better believe that. If for no other reason, because I want to see the crying outside. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Now, I know how much y'all like to jump in and out, but don't forget to subscribe to the page because I know a lot of you guys aren't subscribed. And another way to get the word out is to like the video.
Words can express the way I feel for you.
And yes, that includes those of you watching on television, although I recognize that might require a phone. And when you grab that phone, if you haven't already taken advantage of the discount that is still available, being as we're in the first month of our Patreon membership option, which is another option for those of you who want some of the extra content, some of the early access to the videos or the archives, all of that is available on the Patreon. And this is an excellent time because the first weekly newsletter, which is being offered as a part of that package, goes out this very week. So I'll see you guys over there in the community chat. And there hasn't been a single time that I've gone on that community chat and I haven't seen my girl Deshauna. So imagine my excitement when she sent me this. Oh, I absolutely love to see it. They threw the gauntlet down, Dank. I put up that picture of Dank, and now all of a sudden they coming for you. And not to be outdone, City Dawn sent me this one. I am so very appreciative of this kind of support. You can find all that you see and a whole lot more merch on my website, reesewaters.com. And once again, thank you guys for showing so much love.